Started on the day, I'd like to welcome our Chief Technology Officer, Murali Brahmadesam, to give all of you a small sneak peek under the hood of what runs Razorpay's technology. Over to Murali.
Morning, everyone. Last year, we did the four small tracks on tech, and we did a panel session as well. And it was so well received that we decided to expand it for the whole day. Hope you all enjoy it. Today, I'm going to talk about few areas that have matching panel sessions as well. So we can hear from the experts, from the panelists on the same topic. As you all heard in the keynote, there was enough things about AI, but I don't think that was enough. I'm going to talk about it, AI, and how we do it. This tech stage is primarily the house stage. Shashank talked about onboarding experience. I just want to motivate the problem. Today, when a business is being onboarded, we ask series of questions. These are in sequence. And as the business owner answers, we ask subsequent questions. For example, the moment category is determined, we ask for the license for operating in that category. Many times the business owner may not have the document to provide when we ask them. So we redesigned this whole process and said, how about using conversational onboarding? In conversational onboarding, essentially we are having a conversation with the business owner, asking for details, and they can give the details in any order they wish. Once that is done, then we process the information. We also added vernacular voice support with assisted onboarding. Here, even a cheeky salesman on Instagram can use Hindi to onboard. In the back end, we take all the documentation, use GenAI, we process the document, we do some conversational search to figure out whether the information that is given by the business owner is in the document so that we can accelerate the KYC process. After onboarding, as Shashank talked about, we had launched Ray last year. We continue to invest a lot more efforts on Ray. For example, contextual support is something that we have added. Imagine you are in the dashboard where you're looking at a pending settlement. Previously, you had to cut paste that settlement and then ask for details. Now you can just hover over that settlement entry and then you can ask the question. We also added a lot of insightful dashboards. For example, for our payout customers, you can get to know all the categories in which the payouts are being spent. For a payroll customer, you can understand every line item of the payslip. You can ask why it is changing month over month and so forth. So the GenAI has really helped us in showing Ray across all the dashboards. For engineers particularly, this topic would be very interesting. I'm going to share how we approach this problem, which is the developer productivity. As you have seen, a lot of improvements have happened in terms of code assistance. Typically, it takes more than 2 weeks for a developer who joins the company new to understand the Razorpay ecosystem and start developing. We put together all that knowledge into LLMs so that the developer can start coding very quickly. We also added a lot of code reviews through LLMs so that it becomes easier to code review. So all our tribal knowledge has been codified into the LLMs. We also found opportunities to write unit tests very fast with LLMs. Now we have expanded these tools across all the packages so that our regressions are minimized. The last one is very interesting, where we found that our engineers were spending quite a bit of time debugging issues in the infrastructure. For example, every week we used to cut around 600 tickets to the DevOps team to debug Kubernetes failures, database failures, and so forth. So the DevOps team took it upon themselves and built an assistant for debugging these cases. Essentially, they took all the knowledge, put together, and made a debugger for the developers. So now the developers are not cutting tickets, they can do self-serve in debugging the infrastructural issues. What is next for us in terms of AI? We have already trained 100+ engineers, but we have 900 more to train. So we are doing that more. There's lots of bottoms-up ideas that are coming up. 20 plus ideas are in progress. Bunch of things that you heard in the keynote and things that happen in the launch stage are coming from these things. But the key thing, what we are doing this year, is to have AI-first product thinking. For example, the agentic toolkit that Harshil talked about, that enables an application developer to not read all the payment APIs, but develop a software very quickly to collect payments. And a single developer can do that within 1 hour with our agentic toolkit. So that empowers our customers to build great ideas. You heard about Ray. What we have done with the agentic toolkit is you can embed Ray into your own dashboard. You don't have to come to Razorpay dashboard to ask questions. Similarly, if you are having an e-commerce website where the consumer is asking for the refund status, previously the site would redirect it to Razorpay to ask the question. Now you can embed Ray into your own chatbot so that you can answer. All of this is possible because we are developing an internal platform called as Yogi. What Yogi does is, it understands the entire product, all the features. It inspects the code to figure out whether the code has been implemented the way that has been described in the documentation so that we can support our customers better. A customer can start the conversation in the chatbot, ask the next question in WhatsApp, and then pick up a phone and call their account manager for the next question. All those questions, all this context is passed to Yogi, and Yogi processes it and then customizes it for each channel. I'm looking forward to sharing more details about Yogi throughout the year and at next FTX. Now let's get to basics. How do we deliver the most resilient payment platform? So when I talk about resiliency, we talk about availability first. Last year, we worked heavily on rewriting our monolith, which was in PHP. We converted to Golang. That enabled our engineering team to take ownership of their features. They can develop on their own speed. They can deploy at whatever pace they can. The second thing that we looked at is most of our issues in the infrastructure was happening because of database instability. We have moved 100% of our databases into AWS Aurora service. And we also found that microservices were opening lots of connections, which is impacting the end-to-end latency. So we deployed proxy servers. Recently, we also deployed global databases so that we can failover between Mumbai and Hyderabad for higher availability. Let me talk briefly about security. How do we secure our system? Unfortunately, DDoS incidents happen all the time against our platform. And the key challenge that we face is to figure out whether we are being attacked or is it a legitimate traffic. For example, there could be a big sale event or IPL game where we have to figure out that this is actually not an attack, it's just increased amount of volume. So we have built merchant-level AI models to quickly figure out whether it is a legitimate traffic or an attack. If we determine that it is an attack, we use granular rate limiters across our stack. For example, we update our firewall, we update our load balancer, API layers, and so forth, so that we can have defense in depth. So for the last 18 months or so, all the DDoS incidents have been mitigated automatically. By the way, we have open source bunch of this, and I'm going to talk about it in the open sourcing section. Let me talk about transactional risks. I've listed few types of transactional risks, like phishing, identity theft, chargebacks, and so forth. And we also see a lot of card testing that is happening in our platform, wherein stolen credit cards are being tested in our platform before being used for frauds. What we have done is built several AI models to identify these type of novel frauds. For example, chargeback is very interesting, where a consumer can collude with a merchant, and the merchant gets a settlement, and the consumer comes and asks for money back. So we have built AI models specifically for those type of cases also. And as things are evolving constantly, we cannot always keep AI models up to date. So we have a risk operations team, which manages scalable rule engine, which has 400 plus rules. Because this human is involved, we have a maker checker program as well, so that we can constantly audit. The main keynote, Kilan talked about magic checkout. I'll just motivate the problem. 30% of the e-commerce orders in India suffer from return to origin, wherein the customer places the order, chooses payment on delivery option, but when the product is delivered, they refuse to pay. So if you're a small startup, imagine 30% of your inventory is just shuttling between fulfillment center and the consumer. What we have done is we have built AI models to figure out whether a consumer is likely to return the order. If we think so, we give that information to the merchant, and the merchant can configure payment methods so that they can collect payment upfront, or at least partial payment upfront. Because this is a trade-off between potential revenue and RTO, we have an experimentation platform that merchants can use. And with all of these things, we see RTO reduction by 50 to 70%. I talked about availability and resiliency. How do we scale? Last year, we spent quite a bit of time in defining and architecting our services into cellular architecture. We already went into microservices. What cellular architecture allows us to do is to create a unit of deployment with minimum service dependencies. And this has allowed us to launch to various regions very quickly. For example, we launched in Malaysia. It takes less than 3 weeks to launch into a new region. We also re-architected our data architectures, wherein the data residency laws can be honored very easily. We have done quite a bit in terms of the API layers, which we are also open sourcing. I talked about scalability, availability, but this is something that most engineering teams would be faced with in terms of cost reduction. In the last 2 years, our business grew well, 120% growth, but we also managed to reduce cost. So I'm going to share a few ideas on what helped us to do that. First thing is cost awareness. We made sure that every engineer has access not only to the service dashboard in terms of the health of the service, but also the cost of the service. Whenever a feature is being added, we review it to make sure that it is not being over-engineered or it takes unnecessary dependencies. We also found that managed services from AWS reduces our cost and also operational cost. And finally, we automated a lot. How much ever we try to use auto-scaling, there may be overages. With automation, we can catch it quickly and address it. And that is how we have been able to achieve this 75% cost reduction. Okay, I talked about basics, which is a lot in terms of handling the huge payment volume that we face. How do we maintain our innovation mindset? I want to share a couple of ideas. First one is hackathons. At Razorpay, we do 3-day hackathon every year. And in the last 2 years, we expanded it beyond engineering and product teams. Last year, 648 employees participated across business teams, marketing teams, customer success teams. These are the teams that deal with customers and they know the problems, but they may not be able to solve it. So engineering team partners with them, understands the problem and solves it. Last year, 121 plus ideas were shared. 60% of these ideas have been shipped already. So I really encourage to expand hackathons to beyond engineering and product families. We also did one more thing, which is we set up a small lab. It comprises of 5 employees, small team, big dreams. And the charter is to go innovate in the payment space and should not be afraid of failing. 15 plus ideas were tried. 50% was in AI. And some of the things that you see in launch stage and also in the keynote, the one-click, the co-pilot came from this labs team. They were the first team to embrace AI technologies. There is a bunch of projects that they have showcased on POS. For example, enabling students to pay with parent supervision using wallet and POS. It's a cashless payment solution that students can benefit. All of these things came from labs. I did touch upon contributing back to the community multiple times, but let me share some data. We have shared 53 plus repositories to open source. You can easily find them. And we have shared meaningful ones. For example, our entire design system called as Blade, that is used to design our entire app and all the websites, is open sourced. We have a dev stack that you can use to develop software very quickly in the cloud native way. We have several DevOps tools that I talked about that are there. There are security related projects also. We really embrace FOSS and we contribute back also. And our engineers participate in various conferences. We write blogs. Last year at FTX, we launched Freedom Finance Stack. Freedom Finance Stack is something that is meant to help banks and financial institutions to leapfrog in terms of innovation. We open sourced our ACS. It's the world's first open sourced ACS that is used in the credit card processing. Few weeks ago, we open sourced Suraksha Shield. This is a threat intel service. I talked about DDoS attacks, where we need to understand the infrastructural threats. We mine the dark web. We also get information from our own production service. We collate all of them and publish to a central repository. We have given the code that manages the firewall, managing the API layers, managing the load balancer, all of that is there. So the idea is, if we identify some threat, we want to share it to the central repository so others can also be secured. Together, we are safe. That's it. Thank you.